Welcome, traveler of time. Tonight, you're not in your bed. You're not on your memory foam mattress with your temperature regulating blanket and 7 ergonomic pillows. Number. You're about to wake up somewhere far less forgiving. Ancient Rome, a city of marble and sewage, poetry and plague, glory and garbage. Before we begin your descent into discomfort, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more historically tragic sleep journeys. And if you've ever thought, I could totally survive the past, drop a comment below and prepare to regret that. Now close your eyes, slowly, gently. Let your breath soften. You're about to discover why you absolutely, positively wouldn't last a single day in ancient Rome. It starts with the smell. No, not the sweet citrus breeze you spray on your bathroom tiles. The Roman morning is scented with something much bolder, earthy, personal, a delicate mix of smoke, sweat, fermented fish sauce, and last night's communal toilet overflow. You open your eyes, except you don't have a bed to roll out of. You slept on a wooden plank. There's no mattress, just straw, if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, there's a rat, possibly named Lucius, possibly chewing your hair. There's no shower to run to, no espresso machine humming to life. Instead, you grab a cold basin of water, not clean water, not scented, just water that's been used 3 times already. You splash it on your face. You don't feel refreshed. You feel ancient. You step out of your one-room insula, which is Latin for apartment, but really it's a fire hazard stacked on top of another fire hazard, made of wood, in a city that worships candles, and somehow everyone's cooking indoors, with fire, inside a flammable box. Your building leans slightly. Earthquakes are common. So are collapses. Your neighbor's roof caved in last week. Nobody talks about it. It's fine. Rome is eternal. You, however, are very mortal. The streets are alive, mostly with noise. People shouting, traders bargaining, slaves running errands, animals doing whatever they want, wherever they want. You sidestep a goat, almost trip on a child, definitely step in something organic. Remember sidewalks? Rome had them, sort of, but they're crowded. So you walk in the road, dodging carts, runaway pigs, and the occasional military parade. A trumpet blares. You flinch. That's normal. You're a Roman now. You flinch professionally. You feel hungry? Naturally. But there's no cafe, no croissant, no Instagram-worthy avocado toast. You find a vendor selling pulls, a warm porridge of barley and regret. It has no taste, unless you count the faint tang of clay pot. It sticks to your teeth and your soul. Thirsty? You head for a public fountain. The water flows from an aqueduct built by brilliant engineers who had never heard of lead poisoning. You drink. You will regret this later, probably around hour 5. You've never appreciated filtered tap water more. A man walks by in a toga. You stare because it looks regal, but he's sweating buckets because togas are 20 feet of wool wrapped around the body in summer. You're wearing a tunic, basically a giant itchy pillowcase. You miss cotton and deodorant. Suddenly, the street clears. A senator's litter is passing. That's a fancy word for a chair carried by other people. You bow your head because eye contact might offend him. You, a commoner, mustn't make the mistake of dignity. Oh, and did I mention you're probably barefoot? Shoes are expensive, or maybe you've got sandals. With leather so thin, a pebble feels like divine punishment. Your toes are visible to everyone, especially rats. You make it to the forum. the beating heart of the empire, or at least the loudest part of it. Philosophers argue, orators shout. There's a man claiming the world is round. Everyone ignores him. You nod politely. You still don't know where you are. You look up. Marble columns tower above you. Statues of gods and dead emperors surround you. They watch silently. You feel both amazed and oppressed. Someone sneezes. You flinch again. Ancient Rome had no tissues, just sleeves or nothing. By noon, you've already inhaled more smoke than a modern factory worker. Your feet hurt. Your belly is rebelling against barley paste, and your ears ring from the daily chaos of the imperial soundtrack. But there's more, much more. You haven't even faced the baths, or the theater, or the brutal glory of dinner. You haven't been to court, or the Colosseum, or a doctor. Oh, you'll love Roman medicine. But for now, the sun is high. You're sweating through your tunic. The breeze brings the scent of gladiator sweat and cooked snail. You sit on a step, a lopsided one. You sigh. You ask yourself, quietly, wasn't this supposed to be glorious? Let's continue, brave time traveler, or what's left of you. You've survived the morning, if we can generously call it that. But now comes the midday ritual. You know, that relaxing, soul recharging, body purifying event you call a shower. Well, in Rome, we don't do showers. We do baths, public baths. That's right. You don't bathe alone. You bathe with everyone. You shuffle toward the Thermae, the grand bathhouse. It's an architectural marvel with domed ceilings, heated floors, mosaic walls, and echoes of poor life choices. You pay a small fee, or someone else does, if you're rich or attractive. If not, well, time to save up your Pulse rations. You enter. The smell is a complex steam, sweat, olive oil, feet, and the faint memory of yesterday's hygiene. Romans didn't use soap, they used oil, rubbed it on, then scraped it off with a curved metal tool called a strigil, not recommended for sensitive skin. You disrobe, publicly. There's no curtain, no locker room, no privacy. Modesty isn't Roman. You walk, bare and blinking, into the frigidarium, the cold room. And when I say cold, I mean ice in your soul cold. The kind of cold that makes you forget your sins and your name. You tremble politely, trying not to scream. Then comes the tepidarium, lukewarm water, and even warmer gossip. People lounge, debate, and sometimes urinate. Nobody mentions it, but everybody knows. And then the caldarium, the hot room, heated by furnaces beneath the floor. You lie on a marble bench, melting slowly. Your pores scream. Your lungs inhale ancient steam. A man next to you is discussing politics. Loudly, he's incorrect, but he's also 240 pounds of muscle and pride, so you nod along. You spot a strigil. Someone offers to scrape you. You decline, but they insist. So now a stranger is exfoliating your chest with a bronze instrument. You feel oddly refreshed and violated. Time for the final rinse. You dip into a pool of water, last filtered sometime before Julius Caesar. You emerge glistening with sweat, oil, and bacteria you don't have names for. No towel, you air dry. Because that's what Romans do. There's a stiff breeze. You're still damp when you dress. Your tunic clings like betrayal. You long for the comfort of cotton. Again, you step outside, blinded briefly by the sun. The street greets you with its signature chaos. Children chasing dogs, chasing chickens, chasing other children. Someone selling fried dormice, Yes, dormice. Tiny rodents seasoned with herbs and arrogance. You don't want to try it, but you do. You immediately regret it. It tastes like guilt. A poet is reciting in the corner. Passionate, loud, mostly drunk. You pause to listen. He compares the moon to a goddess, then to his ex wife, then to cheese. Well, it's unclear. But the crowd applauds. You clap too, out of confusion. Now it's time for business. Not yours, but someone's. Rome runs on deals, bribes, favors, and blackmail. Everyone owes everyone, and everyone's watching everyone. You speak to a merchant. He smiles. You blink. You've now accidentally bought a goat. You don't want a goat, but now you have one. His name is, apparently, Marcus. He's chewing your sleeve. You let him. You've given up. The sun shifts. It's afternoon now. Time for a snack. You find a tavern. It's dim, smoky, and full of shouting. A man gestures you toward a wooden stool. It wobbles. You sit anyway. The menu: wine, bread, more poles, and olives so salty they insult your bloodstream. You sip the wine. It's warm, possibly spiced, possibly spoiled. You try to smile. Your teeth ache. Dentistry hasn't been invented yet, at least not in a way you'd want to experience. A man beside you sneezes onto your arm. He laughs. You nod. Germ theory won't arrive for another 1,800 years, so you settle for quiet dread. You wipe your arm with your tunic. Now it's worse. The tavern fills. Noise builds. A musician appears with a lyre. He plays something tragic or romantic. You can't tell. It sounds like heartbreak and string tension. The goat bleats in rhythm. You both sway slightly. You think this might be friendship. Outside, thunder rumbles. Not metaphorical thunder, actual weather. It's going to rain. And in Rome, rain doesn't mean umbrellas. It means wet togas, flooded streets, and philosophical despair. You prepare yourself. And then the smell returns, stronger this time. The sewers, Rome's famous engineering marvels, have a fatal flaw: gravity. When it rains, everything rises. Everything. You run, slosh, leap, you fall once or twice. It's unclear. Your tunic is soaked. Your shoes, if you had them, are gone. The goat, still beside you, loyal, possibly laughing. You find shelter under a crumbling archway. You shiver, not from cold, from the ancient Roman realization: this is daily life. Not a bad day, just Tuesday. Your muscles ache. Your stomach growls. Your skin itches. Your spirit? Slightly broken. The city blazes around you, beautiful, chaotic, absurd. You wonder how they built an empire and why they did it without soap. You sigh again, deeper this time. You lean your head back, close your eyes, just for a moment, hoping the rain washes away the goat smell and your regrets. South, you're soaked, you're bruised, you're gently steaming under a crumbling archway while your goat, yes, Marcus, nibbles on your last dry sleeve. But the day isn't over, not even close, because now, dear time traveler, it's time for work. And don't flatter yourself. You're not a senator. You're not a general. You're definitely not one of those mysterious priests who wave birds around and mumble in Latin. You're a commoner, which means your job is whatever needs doing. You follow a crowd toward the forum again, not for leisure this time, but labor. The kind that involves lifting, hauling, baking, cleaning, stitching, or shouting. Preferably all of those at once if you're lucky. Someone hands you a broom. Not a nice modern one with bristles and ergonomic handles. No, this is a stick tied with more sticks. You are now a street cleaner. Congratulations. Your salary is roughly one loaf of stale bread and the privilege of continued breathing. You begin sweeping, except there's dust, endless dust. Rome is always under construction, and every time someone blinks, a new marble arch gets built and an old one collapses. You're sweeping rocks, and animal waste, and philosophical scroll fragments. An ox cart rolls by and nearly removes your foot. You nod at the driver. He spits. You take that as encouragement. After 3 hours, your arms are noodles. Your tunic smells like effort and lost dreams. Your broom is shorter, possibly stolen from a child mid-shift. You take a break. Briefly, a man yells at you in Latin. You don't understand, but his gestures suggest strong disapproval. Back to sweeping. A senator strolls by. His sandals are polished. His robe flows like political corruption. He drops a coin, not for you, of course. It just falls. You bend to pick it up, and someone beats you to it. A child, possibly a ninja. You nod in defeat. Next up, the market. You're reassigned. Now you're helping a fishmonger. It's a glamorous role. You stand beside buckets of ancient seafood, watching flies hold family reunions. The smell is aggressive. Like Neptune sneezed directly into your nostrils. You lift a tuna. It's heavier than your self-esteem. You drop it. The fishmonger curses. You apologize. He throws a clam at you. It bounces off your goat. Marcus remains unimpressed. You try again, this time with sardines. Lighter, yes, but slipperier. One slides into your tunic. You let it stay. You don't have the energy to fight anymore. Lunchtime again, which means slightly newer barley porridge and a generous smear of fig paste. You chew slowly, wondering what figs ever did to deserve this. You sit by the fountain. You think about washing your hands. Then you remember yesterday's urine quota. You reconsider. Across the square, a crowd gathers. Someone's performing, a street act perhaps. You wander closer. It's a reenactment of a famous battle. Men in tunics shout and swing wooden swords. One of them accidentally hits a bystander. Everyone cheers. Theater and violence, the Roman cocktail of joy. The man beside you explains the scene. He's missing 3 teeth. His breath could melt iron. But he's friendly. He offers you a date. Not the romantic kind, the chewy, sticky fruit. You accept it, then realize it has a worm. You still eat it. You're beyond judgment now. Afternoon shifts again. Time passes strangely in Rome. Some hours drag like a mule on vacation. Others sprint like a thief with fresh sandals. You're called back to work. This time, it's helping build an aqueduct. It sounds important, noble, until you realize you're carrying bricks up a hill, repeatedly, while being yelled at by a foreman named Lucius, who thinks your name is Hey You. Your hands blister, your knees wobble, you drop a brick. Lucius yells louder. A seagull lands on your head. You accept this. It's fine. The sun finally begins to lower. A golden Roman dusk settles. It's beautiful. The buildings glow. Statues shimmer. Dust floats like divine apathy. You limp toward home, or what you now call home, a box with walls, possibly occupied by other creatures. You pass a group of nobles, laughing. Their togas are clean, their faces smug. One is complaining about imported wine. You wish them mild food poisoning. You reach your building. The door is stuck. You shoulder it open. Something scurries. You don't care. You collapse onto your straw. The goat follows. He settles beside you, a warm, oddly comforting presence. You stare at the ceiling. There's a crack shaped like an eagle, or maybe a sandwich. You're not sure anymore. Your body aches. Your hair smells like fish. Your hands are clay sculptures. But you survived. One full Roman workday. Barely. Outside, the city breathes. Fires flicker. Distant voices argue in verse. Somewhere, a flute plays off key. You close your eyes, not because you want to, but because you have no other choice. Sleep, little Roman. Tomorrow brings the Colosseum. You wake up to screaming, not the alarm clock and birdsong kind. No, this is the high-octane, fully committed kind of morning chaos. Children wailing, merchants arguing, someone in the alley dramatically quoting Virgil, or possibly just yelling at a goat. Marcus, your goat, is gone. You suspect he left in search of a better class of human. You don't blame him. You groan. Every part of you hurts. Your back feels like it's been folded by Julius Caesar himself. Your hands resemble dried olives. Your legs, they refuse to participate in this century. And yet, you rise. Because today is the day you go to the Colosseum. Ah, yes, the grand Roman amphitheater, the architectural jewel, the arena of dreams and or dismemberment. And you have a ticket. Well, you don't actually have one, but you follow a crowd and pretend like you belong, which, let's face it, has been your whole survival strategy so far. The Colosseum looms ahead. It's massive, like a stone spaceship landed in the middle of a very judgmental civilization. People pour in, citizens, slaves, senators. It's a cross-section of Rome, united by a shared passion, brutal, unapologetic entertainment. You're jostled forward. Someone spills wine on your foot. Someone else tries to sell you a sausage. It smells like revenge and mystery meat. You decline, barely. Inside, the noise is biblical. Thousands of voices bounce off stone walls like ancient Wi-Fi. The smell? It's like a barbecue married a gymnasium and had a regretful child. You find a spot on a hard stone bench. No cushions, no seat backs, no popcorn. Just 20,000 sweaty strangers packed together like salted fish in an amphora. A trumpet blares. The games begin. First, the parade. Gladiators march in, some stoic, some flexing, all suspiciously shiny. Then the beasts, lions, bears, some ostriches. Yes, ostriches. It's Rome. Nobody here is okay. The crowd roars. You clap politely, trying to hide your horror. These are trained fighters. Some are slaves. Some are volunteers. Some just made terrible life choices. The first match starts. A man with a trident faces another with a net. You think it's a joke until the net guy nearly removes the trident guy's teeth. The crowd cheers. You flinch. Again. More matches follow. Swords, shields, clubs. At one point, someone fights a rhino. The rhino does not care for applause. Then the emperor appears, or rather, his representative. The real emperor is probably at a spa, but the substitute waves his hand dramatically and points his thumb up or down. The crowd reacts. Someone loses a limb. You lose a little bit of faith in humanity. There's a brief intermission. Vendors pass by with trays of snacks, honeyed locusts, roasted dormice, and something labeled only as mystery egg. You decline. Again, your stomach has been through enough. The second act, reenactments of famous battles. Except instead of actors, they use actual prisoners. And instead of scripts, there's screaming. One man tries to climb the wall. He gets halfway up, then gets hit with a javelin. The crowd laughs. A child beside you claps enthusiastically. He offers you a date. You pretend to eat it. It falls into your sleeve, where it belongs. At some point, a bear eats a mime. You pretend it's a metaphor. You feel marginally better. And yet, you're still watching. Why? Because you're Roman now. Kind of. But this is Rome. Loud, lavish, lethal, and oddly mesmerizing. The sun arcs higher. The stone seat bakes your bones. Your legs are numb. Your eyes to sting. You've seen more violence in an hour than most people do in a lifetime. And yet the games go on. Eventually, the crowd begins to stir. The final match approaches. Two champions enter, one armored like a walking fortress, the other so swift and lean. The fight is real. It's skilled. It's brutal. And you find yourself impressed. They clash, roar, sweat, bleed. The crowd chants. You almost join in. Then you remember this is actual death. You close your mouth and your eyes. Finally, the victor stands over the loser, waiting. The crowd chants. The official raises his arm. Thumbs up, mercy. Thumbs down, end it. There's a pause, a breath. You hear it, the silence of thousands waiting for fate to decide. And then, mercy. The crowd groans. But you, dear traveler, feel something flicker, something ancient, a whisper of humanity under all the spectacle. The games end, people rise, stretch, laugh, discuss their favorite decapitations. You stumble out with the masses, your mind spinning. The sun is beginning to dip, the air is warm, and the city is alive again, as if nothing just happened. You pass a small boy pretending to be a gladiator, swinging a stick at a goose. The goose wins. You nod in approval. You limp home, your ears ringing, your soul slightly wilted. Your clothes now smell like history and horror. Inside your room, the goat is back. He looks at you with mild disappointment. You nod. He's not wrong. You collapse on your straw. You stare at the ceiling. You exhale, and you realize you just watched 10 executions while eating a date fruit you didn't even like. Sleep well, modern one, and remember, in Rome, the real games never end. Evening settles over Rome like a slightly damp wool blanket, warm in places, but mostly itchy and suspicious. The sky is pink, streaked with smoke from a dozen hearths and a few accidental fires. You've survived the bathhouse, the forum, manual labor, and yes, the Colosseum. Congratulations, you're exhausted. But Rome isn't done with you yet, because now it's dinner time, and Roman dinner, the cena, isn't just a meal, it's a performance, a ritual, a 7-act play starring questionable ingredients and enthusiastic belching. If you're poor, dinner is brief. Bread, maybe some beans, possibly lentils if Jupiter smiles upon you. But you're not staying in tonight. No, you've been invited, or rather dragged, to a dinner party hosted by a friend of a friend of someone who once borrowed your broom. You arrive at a domus, a house of someone marginally better off. It has painted walls, mosaic floors, and an atrium with a pool in the middle that serves no actual purpose except to make guests trip and pretend it's artistic. You're welcomed with a smile that feels more like a trap. A servant hands you a cup of watered wine. You sip. It tastes like vinegar and apology. You're led to the triclinium, the dining room. There are couches, not chairs. That's right. Romans eat lying down, on their left side, with one hand, while trying not to pass out or fall off. You lie awkwardly on the couch. Your elbow hurts. Your knee cramps. Someone next to you is already horizontal, whispering in Greek. You nod like you understand. The food arrives. First course, eggs, olives, and, surprise, a jelly made from fish guts. You blink. You try the olive. It's fine. You try the jelly. It's not. Next, the main course. Dishes parade in like awkward Roman celebrities. Stuffed dormice, again. Flamingo tongue, boiled sow's womb. Something described only as delicacy. You poke it, it jiggles, you decide it's not your business. The host laughs loudly at his own joke about taxes and senators. Everyone chuckles. You do too, 2 seconds late. You're not sure why. You just want dessert. But before that, poetry. Yes, a guest stands to recite something he wrote. It's long, it rhymes. It contains metaphors about trees, rivers, and an unfaithful wives. You nod politely while mentally leaving your body. Another course, this time peacock with gold flakes. Because why not? Rome loves grandeur, even if it tastes like confusion. More wine, the host insists. You sip, he pours more. You smile weakly. Someone toasts to Neptune, someone else to Saturn. You raise your cup to survival. Dessert finally arrives. Figures, dates, nuts and honey. It's actually goods. You almost cry, but it's not over. The after dinner entertainment begins. A flute player who's clearly sad. A woman doing something interpretive with scarves. And finally, the comedic slave who tells rude jokes about lawyers, soldiers, and people from Gaul. The host laughs until he chokes. A servant slaps his back. You clap, unsure of the rules. Someone starts dancing. Another spills wine. A man begins explaining the stars to a very bored statue. You consider escaping, but you're now pinned by a very friendly woman named Livia, who is explaining in detail her views on bathwater temperature and why figs are dangerous. You nod. Again. You are now 70% nod. The party stretches into late evening. Oil lamps flicker. Shadows dance on the frescoes. A man is singing, badly. Someone else is arguing with a decorative urn. You slip out quietly. The night air is cooler. The streets are emptier. You walk slowly, carefully. A cart rumbles past, and a stray cat eyes you with aristocratic disdain. You pass a temple. Someone's praying, or sleeping, or both. Your feet carry you forward, past shuttered shops, past graffiti praising gladiators and mocking senators. One wall says Marcus loves Julia, another just says beans. You reach your insula. Your room is still standing, barely. The goat is snoring. You sit, then lie down. Your bones sigh. You think about the dinner, the laughter, the absurdity, the flamingo. You think about how people here live, fully, loudly, messily, with no filters, no Wi Fi, no shame. And somehow they survive, they build, they conquer, they debate the temperature of figs. You close your eyes. The sounds of the city drift in, a dog barking, someone vomiting, a very confused musician practicing the same note over and over. It's peaceful in a Roman sort of way. You breathe in, you exhale, and you whisper softly, I miss microwaves. Sleep now, weary Roman. You've earned it. Tomorrow, we meet the doctor. Ah, morning again. Your straw mattress hasn't improved, neither has your spine. The air smells like garlic, goats, and optimism, mostly from your neighbor, who's been singing off key about wheat since sunrise. But something's not right. Your head aches, your stomach feels rebellious, your legs are heavy. You try to stand. Your joints creak like a poorly oiled siege engine. Congratulations, you're sick. In modern times, this is where you'd cancel meetings, drink tea, take a paracetamol, and scroll memes until you feel human again. But this is ancient Rome. You don't have paracetamol. You don't even have Kleenex. You have a doctor. And that's the problem. You drag yourself through the street. People dodge you like you're contagious, which you probably are. A man offers you a garlic poultice. You say no. He looks offended. See, he rubs it on his own armpits. You walk faster. The doctor lives near the market, a man of science, supposedly. His sign reads, Medicus, bones reset, bloodlet, leeches available. It's less of a clinic and more of a chamber of medieval improvisation. You enter. There's no receptionist, no air conditioning, just jars, everywhere, some filled with herbs, others with things that used to move. The doctor greets you. He's wearing a tunic stained with history. He smells like vinegar and ambition. He doesn't ask what hurts. He tells you. You have bad humors, he says. You blink. Too much black bile, he adds confidently. You nod because your head hurts too much to argue. He begins by examining your tongue, then your ears, then inexplicably your foot. He frowns deeply and mutters something about Saturn being in a bad mood. Diagnosis complete, he presents you with options. Leeches, for balancing the blood. A purgative, for cleansing the soul and colon. A goat bladder tea, self-explanatory. Tragically, you choose the least horrifying, the tea. He brews it while telling you about a man who sneezed for 3 days and turned into a lawyer. You sip. It tastes like wet sock and crushed dreams. Next, he insists on draining your blood just a little. You protest. He reassures you. He sharpens a tiny blade and nicks your arm with all the care of a blind sculptor. You bleed. He smiles. You feel worse? He nods. That's good. Your bad spirits are escaping. You're lightheaded now, possibly from blood loss, possibly from terror. He hands you a rag and a blessing. On your way out, he gives you a tiny clay charm. For health, he says. It looks like a chicken or a lizard. You accept it with the grace of someone who's lost all hope. You stagger outside. The sun stabs your eyes. A cart nearly flattens you. You wobble into a corner and sit. An old woman nearby hands you a boiled onion. Medicine, she whispers. You eat it because why not? At home, you collapse. Marcus the goat stares at you, judging. You wrap yourself in a scratchy blanket and try to sleep. But Roman walls are thin, very thin. You can hear everything. Upstairs, someone is stomping. Below, someone is arguing with their furniture. Across the alley, a child is shouting at a pigeon in flawless Latin. You finally drift off, briefly. You wake up to chanting, not spiritual, political. A mob is marching through the street, yelling about taxes and bread. Someone throws a tomato, someone else throws a chicken. You close the window, which is just a hole in the wall, covered by a wooden shutter, with a crack big enough for a rat to wave through. You lie back down. You consider what you've learned. Roman medicine is ambitious. It's mostly trial. With very little error correction, you still have a headache. Your stomach is now confused and mildly betrayed. Your arm stings. You smell like broth and disappointment. But you're still alive, technically. You sip water from a clay cup. You cough. It echoes. The cup cracks. It was symbolic, probably. Evening falls again. Rome doesn't slow down. Somewhere a man is playing a harp badly. Another is trying to recite law from memory and failing. There's a fire in the distance. Nobody minds. You curl into your blanket. You dream of modern things, soft tissues, ibuprofen, climate control, Wi-Fi, doctors who don't bleed you like a sacrificial goat. You drift off thinking, at least I didn't pick the leeches. Sleep gently, time traveler. Tomorrow we visit the Roman school system. Yes, it gets worse. Morning, again. You wake up with a mild fever, a suspicious cough, and the distinct impression that someone stomped on your brain with a sandal. But none of that matters, because today you're going to school. Yes, school in Rome, where education is considered important as long as you're wealthy, male, and preferably the son of someone who owns a vineyard or two. You are technically none of those things. But let's pretend. Maybe someone mistook you for a senator's nephew. Or maybe your goat bribed the right people. Either way, you're in. The Roman school is not a building with desks and posters of motivational cats. It's a corner of a colonnade, or the back of a shop, or a semi-shaded alley where someone who calls himself a literator yells Latin at small humans for several hours. You arrive. The classroom is a stone bench and a patch of dirt. The teacher, a thin man with wild eyes and a beard that could hide entire secrets, greets you with a nod. He is holding a rod, not metaphorical, literal. You sit carefully. Around you are Roman children. Some are writing with wax tablets. Others are chewing their styluses. One is just weeping softly. This feels familiar. Class begins with recitation. You're told to repeat something from Virgil's Aeneid. You barely know your own name right now, but you give it a go. The teacher frowns. The boy next to you kicks your shin. Educational bonding. Then comes grammar, Latin grammar. Let's pause here. Latin is not user-friendly. It's not even user-tolerant. Every noun has a gender. Every verb has dozens of forms. The word for war is neuter, but the word for sword is masculine. The word for table is feminine. You don't ask why. You just cry softly into your wax tablet. The teacher speaks quickly. He asks questions. He waits for answers. He doesn't like silence, or wrong answers, or breathing, apparently. You try to conjugate a verb. You accidentally insult his mother. He nods. Progress? Then comes writing practice. You're handed a wax tablet and a stylus. You attempt to carve a sentence, it breaks halfway through. You now have the Roman equivalent of a cracked iPad and no warranty. Next, arithmetic, Roman numerals, which, as you'll recall, are not intuitive. Try subtracting 42 from 147 while a pigeon poops nearby and your stylus tip keeps snapping. The teacher assigns a problem. What is L times 3? You panic. Is that 150? Or laundry day? You say yes. He says nothing, just reaches for the rod. Thankfully, someone drops a jug in the street outside and causes a distraction. You pretend it was a sign from the gods. You smile. No one else does. At noon, there is a break. You are not fed. This is not modern school. There are no snack bars, no juice boxes. You chew a fig someone dropped. It tastes like dignity. A fellow student offers to trade you a honey cake for a peek at your grammar scroll. You agree instantly. He takes the scroll, eats the cake himself, returns nothing. This is your first lesson in Roman economics. Back in class, it's time for philosophy. The teacher begins a long speech about Stoicism, the idea that you should accept pain and misfortune without complaint. You look around. The room is hot. You have a headache. Your seat is a stone slab. Your feet are asleep. The boy next to you has stolen your stylus. Again. Congratulations. You are now a Stoic. The final subject, rhetoric. This is the Roman art of persuasion, the thing that senators use to lie eloquently. You're told to deliver a speech about civic duty. You stand, you speak, you forget half the words and invent the rest. You end with, and may the gods fix the plumbing. The class is silent. Then the teacher claps. Either he's impressed or sarcastic. You don't care. You sit. Finally, class ends. Children scatter. Some to chores, some to recite poetry to their fathers. One simply lies down and gives up. You respect him. You walk home slowly. Your brain hurts more than your legs. You didn't think that was possible. At home, Marcus the goat has rearranged your belongings. You find your sandal in his mouth. You let him have it. You lie down. You reflect. School in Rome is not gentle. It is not nurturing. It is a gauntlet of verbs, violence, and vague threats. But it's also strangely impressive. These kids grow up to rule empires, write epics, and invent plumbing that sometimes works. You, meanwhile, still count on your fingers. You close your eyes. You whisper the one Latin word you remember, dormio. I sleep. Sleep now, little scholar. Tomorrow, we go shopping. Rise and shine, time-traveling consumer. You've studied, you've suffered, you've seen lions eat mimes, and now it's time for the truest Roman test of will, endurance, and sanity, going shopping. You may think, finally, something normal. Oh, sweet modern soul, you are not ready. There are no supermarkets in ancient Rome, no checkout lines, no loyalty cards, no buy one get one free figs. There are markets, sprawling, crowded, screaming open-air festivals of commerce, chaos, and mild criminal activity. You head to the Forum Boreum, the market of beasts. Yes, that's the actual name. It smells like ambition and hooves. Vendors shout over one another. Fresh olives, fine garum, eels that may or may not still be alive. It's overwhelming. Your ears start sweating. Your shopping list is short: bread, oil, maybe some fruits, possibly a new tunic, since Marcus chewed a hole in your last one. But before you can blink, you're pulled into a sea of humanity. First stop, bread. You find a stall, a mountain of loaves baked in outdoor clay ovens. They're round, stamped with symbols, and harder than your current mattress. You pick one up. Your wrist pops. You try to haggle. The baker squints at you like you just insulted Jupiter. You say, please. He says, 2 denarii. You hand him a coin. He sniffs it, bites it, nods. Bread acquired. One victory. Next, oil. You approach an amphora-lined shop. A woman hands you a tiny ceramic jug. Extra virgin, she says. You don't ask what that means here. You just nod. She pours you a sample. You sip. It's earthy, sharp, possibly amazing, possibly just very old. You nod again. That's how you survive here, through confident nodding. Then, the garum. Now, garum is fermented fish sauce. The Romans use it on everything. If it's edible, they garum it. If it's not edible, they still might. You walk by a vendor ladling garum into jars. The smell hits you like a philosophical crisis. It's like anchovy perfume. The man offers you a sample. You decline with a polite cough and retreat. You continue, past stalls of fruit, nuts, dried figs, live chickens. A man is selling healing herbs. Another is offering suspicious jewelry stolen from a barbarian king. You buy an apple instead. It tastes like dust and optimism. Then comes clothing. You find a stall with tunics hanging like forgotten laundry. You browse. The merchant appears behind you like a ghost of capitalism. This one is Egyptian cotton, he says. You blink as you touch it. It's burlap. He stares you down. You nod. Again. He names a price that could fund a minor invasion. You counter with a coin and a compliment. He laughs. You laugh. He takes your coin. You now own a new tunic. It is slightly less itchy than your old one. Victory number 2. You move on to housewares, or rather, things that might not break immediately. You find a bowl. The merchant assures you it's Etruscan. You're pretty sure it's just chipped. You buy it anyway. You'll need something to hold your barley porridge of doom. Suddenly, a commotion. A thief is caught. A crowd gathers. A man runs. Another man chases. Someone throws a cabbage. You step aside. A soldier passes by, uninterested. Rome, as usual, doesn't flinch. You take a break. Sit on a dusty step. Drink water from your clay cup. It drips. Of course it does. You observe the market from a safe distance. It is, in its own chaotic way, impressive. The economy of Rome is alive, loud, personal. There are no fixed prices, no guarantees, no refunds. Every purchase is a tiny battle. Every seller is part merchant, part actor, part potential swindler. And yet, somehow, it works. You head home with your treasures: a loaf like a discus, oil that smells like ambition, a tunic stitched by hope, and a bowl that may or may not survive the goat. Marcus greets you with mild indifference. You change into your new tunic. It creaks, but it's wearable, mostly. You place the bread on the table. It rolls off. You let it, you sit, you breathe, you've done it. You shopped in ancient Rome and didn't get pickpocketed, overcharged too severely, or recruited for the Navy. That's what we call a win. You lie down. You let the sounds of the forum fade from memory. The bartering, the shouting, the chickens, the arguments about apricot freshness, all part of the Roman charm. Tomorrow, we visit a Roman villa because obviously you've earned a day of luxury. Sleep well, little shopper. Your bowl will probably survive the night. Probably. Today, you escape the city. For once, no baths, no shouting in Latin, no fermented fish smell lingering in your sinuses. Because today, you've been invited through a complex web of bribes, cousin favors, and goat-based diplomacy to a Roman villa. That's right, a countryside estate, a retreat from the noise and smell and general trauma of city life. You imagine greenery, peace, maybe a lemon tree or two, possibly a nap without a goat stepping on your face. You pack light, one tunic, one piece of bread, one slightly sarcastic attitude. Then you board a cart, not a chariot, a wooden cart pulled by a mule named Rufus, who walks like he's seen too much. The ride is slow. Oh, you bounce over ruts. Every pebble feels like betrayal. The sun beats down like a passive-aggressive compliment. The road is paved, sort of, with uneven stones and regret. After an hour and a half of intense spinal realignment, you arrive. The villa rises from the earth like a marble mirage. Arched porticos, shaded courtyards, decorative columns whose only job is to impress you, and it works. Your host, a wealthy Roman named Gaius, because of course, greets you. He wears a tunic whiter than any soul you've met in this city. His sandals are so clean they may never have touched dirt. His handshake is soft, like someone who's never lifted anything heavier than a goblet. He offers you wine. The good kind, not vinegar, not foot-scented. Actual grapes were harmed in the making of this beverage. Gaius takes you on a tour. There are fountains, there's a fish pond, the fish have names. You pretend to be impressed. The kitchen garden is lush. Thyme, rosemary, figs, lettuce, real edible things, not barley paste, not suspicious stew, actual food. You begin to weep gently. You drink, you sigh, you taste civilization. Gaius takes you on a tour. There are fountains, there's a fish pond, the fish have names. You pretend to be impressed. The kitchen garden is lush. Thyme, rosemary, figs, lettuce, real edible things, not barley paste, not suspicious stew, actual food. You begin to weep gently. You pass a room with scrolls, a small library. Gaius casually mentions he's read them all. You suspect this is a lie, but it's a fancy lie. You respect that. Then the triclinium, his formal dining room, not like the last one. This has cushions, fragrant oils, decorative bowls that aren't cracked. Lunch is served. There's cheese, actual cheese, not curdled horror from a back alley. There's honey. There's warm, freshly baked bread that doesn't double as a weapon. There's fruit, ripe, sweet, non-accusatory fruit. You don't speak much. You're too busy chewing with purpose. After lunch, Gaius suggests a walk. You stroll through the orchard. Birds sing. The air smells of pine and status. You pass a sleigh pruning vines. He smiles. You wave. You both know your social roles are complicated. Then comes the highlight, the bathhouse. Yes, the villa has its own, private, clean, no one yelling, no one exfoliating strangers with bronze tools, just silence, steam, peace. You soak, you melt, you become one with the tub. You suspect this is what modern spas dream of when they sleep. Evening nears, the sky turns gold, cicadas buzz like lazy tambourines. Gaius pours you one last cup of wine and begins reciting poetry, badly but with confidence. You applaud, you're too relaxed to care. And then it's time to leave. You board the cart. Rufus, the mule, sighs like he knew this day would come. The road back is just as bumpy. But now you're full of food, poetry, and a faint belief in humanity. Rome reappears. The smell returns. The noise grows louder. Your feet touch familiar dust. Marcus greets you with a bleat and a headbutt to the knee. You missed him. Probably. You sit on your straw bed. You stare at your cracked bowl. You exhale. Life in the city is rough, chaotic, loud, unpredictable. The villa is calm, ordered, luxurious, but neither is perfect, and both are Rome, two halves of the same empire. One smells like lavender, the other like fish sauce. You lie back. The ceiling has a new crack. You name it Gaius. You smile, slightly. Sleep now, villa visitor. Tomorrow, you learn what happens when Rome throws a festival. Spoiler, it involves fire. Today, Rome celebrates. Why? Nobody knows exactly. Possibly the birth of a god, the death of a hero, the harvest, the moon, a military victory, or just the fact that it's Tuesday and nobody's revolting. Again. Romans love festivals, and by love, I mean they treat them with the same intensity modern people reserve for apocalypse movies and Black Friday sales. It's loud, it's chaotic, it's glorious, and you are very much in the middle of it. You wake up to drums, not soft, rhythmic ones. Number. These are the aggressive. We're summoning something kind. Outside, horns blare, bells ring, someone's yelling, someone's already drunk. You stumble into your sandals and peek out. The street is a carnival. Banners hang between buildings. Perfumed smoke fills the air. People are dancing. A man is dressed like Mars, or possibly just very confused about the color red. Today's festival is in honor of Bacchus, god of wine, ecstasy, and bad decisions. You see garlands, you smell roast meat, you spot someone with gold paint on their eyebrows. A group of women in sheer tunics run past you, laughing. You are very awake now. Gaius appears from nowhere and throws a grape at your face. Festival day, he yells. He's holding a jug. He has not stopped smiling in 37 minutes. You assume this is his Olympic sport. The streets are alive. There's music, flutes, lyres, drums. Not always in tune, not always in time, but very, very loud. There are performers, acrobats, dancers, a man juggling knives, and another man pretending to be a tree. You're not sure he's pretending. There's food everywhere. Roasted meats, honey cakes, strange little buns filled with mystery. You eat one. It tastes like joy and heartburn. People chant. People sing. Children throw flowers. Someone throws a frog. Nobody reacts. The entire city is a parade, and you're part of it now. The Bacchanalia begins. Now, this isn't your average polite gathering. This is Rome letting loose. Wine flows like philosophy. everywhere, and often too much. Dancers swirl, people shout to the gods, or to each other, or to imaginary ducks. It's hard to tell. You're handed a cup. You drink. It's strong. You blink. The sun winks back. You're pulled into a circle. Someone teaches you a dance. You miss every step. A child corrects you. You bow in shame. She bows back. You may be married now. No one knows. The heat rises. The crowd thickens. Someone blows fire. Someone else faints. A group of men carry a giant statue of Bacchus through the streets while chanting. One trips. The statue wobbles. Everyone gasps. A flute hits the ground. Someone picks it up and continues playing. You lose your sandal. It finds you later, probably. The sun begins to set, but the energy doesn't. Now come the torches, thousands of them, literature held high, carried through alleys and streets like fiery exclamation points. You're given one. You smile nervously. You are now fire adjacent. The crowd marches to the field of Mars. There, a massive bonfire awaits, built with the enthusiasm of someone who has never heard of safety codes. You watch, you sweat, you pray. The flames rise, sparks fly. People dance around the fire, singing songs older than reason. A woman tosses in a scroll. A man throws a sandal. Someone throws a turnip. It's symbolic, probably. Gaius appears beside you, wine-stained and triumphant. This, he says, is Rome. You nod. You understand now. Rome isn't quiet. It isn't comfortable. But it feels. Everything here is turned up to 11. Passion, fire, food, noise, even sandals. You find a quiet step as the flames die down. People start to drift away, laughing, hugging, occasionally vomiting. The sky is dark now. The stars peek through. You stare up at them, dazed, a little sticky, missing one sock. You walk home, slowly, carefully. One torch still burns in the distance, a final flicker of chaos. At your door, Marcus is waiting. He smells vaguely of wine. You don't ask. He doesn't offer. You collapse into your straw. You are full of food, of sound, of stories. You feel like a sponge soaked in civilization. You close your eyes. A distant flute squeals. A child giggles. Someone shouts Bacchus and falls into a barrel. You smile. This is what a Roman festival does. It overwhelms you, absorbs you, then tucks you into bed like a very aggressive lullaby. Sleep now, celebrant. Tomorrow we attend a Roman trial. Yes, court. Today justice calls, which in ancient Rome means yelling, paperwork written on wax, and men in togas pretending they don't care about drama, while very much caring about drama. You are going to court. You wake up groggy, your tunic slightly crusted with wine, a flower crown stuck to your foot, and Marcus the goat curled beside you like a regret. Your memory of the Bacchanalia is hazy, but you're fairly sure someone blessed your elbow. There's no time to process it. A neighbor shouts, "Court day," through your window hole. You groan. You rise. Your dignity does not. You shuffle through the streets toward the Basilica Julia, one of the great centers of Roman law. It looks like a temple, but smells like a debate club had a nervous breakdown. There's no clear system, no metal detectors, No security guard named Doug with a clipboard. Instead, there are just dozens of citizens, slaves, accusers, lawyers, random spectators, and one man loudly selling fig pies. You buy one. It immediately falls apart, like your legal understanding. You don't have a case today. You're just here to watch. For education, Gaia says the court is like theater, but with higher stakes and worse acting. You believe him? Inside, the hall echoes with voices. No microphones, just raw volume. Everyone is talking or shouting. A lawyer waves a scroll so violently it tears. He keeps going. The case? A dispute over a goat. You feel personally attacked. The plaintiff claims his neighbor's goat trampled his garden and insulted his family. The defendant says the goat was blessed by the gods and therefore above mortal law. The crowd gasps. You lean in. The judge, an elderly senator, with the eyes of a man who's seen too many figs, bangs his staff. Not a gavel, a literal staff. Because Rome. He asks for witnesses. One man limps forward. He looks like he hasn't bathed since Nero was born. He claims the goat winked at him. This seems irrelevant. The court disagrees. The lawyer presents a wax tablet with a drawing of hoof prints. You're not sure if it's evidence or abstract art. Everyone nods solemnly. Then the defendant speaks. He delivers a passionate, wildly theatrical speech in which he compares the goat to Hercules. He weeps. The crowd claps. The judge sighs. You are hooked. Another case begins. This time, a woman accuses a merchant of selling her spoiled olive oil. The merchant claims she used it as perfume and offended Venus. The woman hurls her sandal. The merchant ducks. A spectator catches it. Applause. You start to understand the flow. Roman court isn't about facts. It's about performance. It's verbal combat. A chess match where every piece is a monologue. A circus with scrolls. Cases fly by. Theft, slander, property lines, unpaid debts, mysterious curses, and one case about a chicken that may or may not be a reincarnated consul. Each time, the lawyers puff up, the crowd reacts, and the judge tries not to die of irritation. You overhear someone say, "Truth is useful, but wit wins." You write that down. Then realize you don't have a pen. You etch it into your arm with a fig stem. Rome is changing you. Midday arrives. The court pauses. Everyone spills outside for lunch. Fish, bread, and legal gossip. You eat with Gaius under a column. He tells you the judge once lost a case to his own cousin over a jug of wine. They haven't spoken since. Back inside, the final case of the day begins. A man accuses his brother of stealing his girlfriend. The girlfriend is present. She shrugs. The brother denies everything while blowing kisses. The judge listens, then asks if she wants to stay with either of them. She says she prefers gladiators. The judge rules, let the gods decide, which is Roman for I'm done with this nonsense. The crowd laughs. Some cheer. The girlfriend leaves with a man holding a trident. You sit in awe. Roman justice is messy, flawed, loud, but strangely democratic. Anyone can accuse anyone. Everyone can watch. And somehow, amid the absurdity, a kind of order emerges. You walk home, exhausted from sheer observation. Marcus meets you with a look that says, "You watched a goat trial without me? You pet him anyway. You lie down. Your ears still ring with legal Latin. Your brain aches from logic knots, but your heart, it's entertained. You close your eyes. You dream of scrolls, sandals, and dramatic accusations shouted under a marble roof. Tomorrow, we visit the army. Yes, the Roman military. It's time to march. Today, you enlist. No, not by choice. You sneezed near a recruitment officer. Someone shouted, "He looks sturdy." A coin was flipped. You lost. And just like that, you're in the Roman army. You wake up before dawn, way before dawn. So early it's still last night. A soldier kicks the edge of your straw mat. "Rise," he says. You try to protest. He throws a boot at your face. Motivational. You dress. The tunic is scratchy. The belt cuts into your optimism. The sandals are practical. They look like someone made a shoe out of disappointment and rope. You're marched to the castra, the Roman military camp. It's a city within a city. Straight roads, barracks, towers, shouting. So much shouting. Your fellow recruits look like they've been dragged from all corners of the empire. Gauls, Greeks, Italians, one guy who swears he's from beyond the Danube and glows faintly at night. You don't ask questions. Training begins. First, running around the camp in full gear. You run past a goat. You swear it's Marcus. He winks. You fall in a ditch. Next, formations. You're taught to line up, march, stop, turn, and jab with your gladius, a short sword built for stabbing people efficiently and ruining their week. You jab a straw dummy. It collapses dramatically. You feel powerful. Then a centurion tells you that was the practice dummy for children. You feel less powerful. Now comes shield practice. You're handed a scutum, a massive rectangular shield the size of your dreams. It's heavy. It smells like wood, sweat, and pain. You're told to block attacks. You succeed for 3 seconds. Then a stick hits your head. You learn humility. Lunch break. You expect something hearty. Instead, you get barley mash and vinegar water. You chew slowly. You think about dessert. Then remember, Rome doesn't do dessert, not in the army. Afternoon drills begin. Javelins. You throw wildly. It flies backward. The centurion doesn't blink. He's seen worse, probably this morning. Then digging. Oh, yes, Romans believe soldiers should build roads, forts, ditches, dreams. You dig a trench. You ask why. You're told, in case of siege. You ask where the enemy is. You're told, life is the enemy. That's fair. You practice building a catapult. You're bad at it. It fires once. Into a tree. The tree dies. Nobody mourns. As the sun lowers, you learn about camp life. Rules. No leaving without permission. No drinking too much. No arguing with your superior. No naming your sword Gregory. That one's apparently a story you'll hear later. You clean your gear. You polish your armor, or what passes for armor. It's a series of metal strips strapped to your chest, like someone gave up halfway through designing a robot. You sleep on a wooden board, no pillow, no blanket, just your regrets. You whisper goodnight to Gregory. The next day, you march, miles and miles, in heat, in sandals, carrying your shield, your sword, your supplies, your wounded dignity. You chant with the others, badly. Someone sings, someone else throws up. You march anyway. You build a camp at night. You sleep under stars. You are eaten by mosquitoes the size of philosophy students. You contemplate deserting. But where would you go? Back to the courtroom, the bathhouse, the Colosseum? Actually, you miss the Colosseum. Training continues for days. You harden. You grow calluses. Your feet stop bleeding. Your arms stop trembling. You begin to understand formation, the rhythm, the unity. One day a messenger arrives. There's been a small rebellion in a nearby province. The unit prepares. You line up, shield ready, sword sheathed, heart racing. But the rebellion ends before you arrive. Apparently, they heard you were coming and surrendered to avoid listening to more marching songs. You feel heroic by proxy. Back at the camp, you're promoted, not officially, but someone hands you a slightly less awful helmet. Progress? You return to the city with a limp, a sunburn, and a new appreciation for chairs. Marcus bleats at you. You salute him. He nods. You lie on your straw bed. The floor feels soft in comparison. You dream of drills, of marching, of the centurion's terrifying glare, and the taste of hot sand. The Roman army is many things: brutal, disciplined, relentless, but above all, it functions. It conquers. It builds roads that last 2,000 years. It creates order from chaos, painfully, loudly, with style. Sleep well, soldier. Tomorrow we talk love. Yes, Roman romance. Brace yourself. Ah, romance. Finally, a break from mud, marching, and mild concussions. You rise late today, miraculously unkicked, and stretch your arms with the slow, aching grace of someone who's been in a sword fight with gravity for a week. The city is calm, which is suspicious. Today, you're on a mission of the heart, or at least, that's what Gaius says, as he drapes a garland of olive leaves around your shoulders and hands you a scroll that smells like desperation. You're in love now, he declares. You don't remember agreeing, but okay. In Rome, love is complicated. There's no Tinder, no poetry generator, no cute dog selfies. Love letters are written in ink or scratched into wax and delivered by slaves, pigeons, or small boys with large gossip networks. You begin your pursuit by visiting the Temple of Venus, goddess of love, beauty, and poorly timed emotional decisions. The temple is packed, flowers everywhere, offerings of perfume, wine, and what you strongly suspect is a wig. You light a tiny candle and whisper a prayer. Please let them be literate. The object of your affection is Livia, or Flavia, or Junia. Honestly, no one uses real names in love stories. Let's just call her the reason your toga suddenly feels too tight. You spot her across the forum, walking with friends, laughing, dressed in a flowing stola. She glows, either from beauty or from reflective marble glare. You squint. Gaius nudges you. Say something poetic. You panic. You blurt, your sandals shame the stars. She stops. She stares. Her friends giggle. She smiles. Victory? Number. She replies, do the stars smell like goat? You blink. You've been outmatched. She walks away, graceful, dangerous. Gaius pats your back. We'll try again. Later, you attend a dinner party. Livia is there. So is half of Rome. It's loud. Wine flows, conversation swirls. You try to be witty. You misquote Homer. Someone corrects you with a breadstick. You sneak a glance at her. She's listening to a soldier describe battle wounds. She looks bored. You seize your moment. You approach, you kneel, you recite a poem. Something about her eyes, her laugh, her complete lack of visible mosquito bites. It's awkward, honest, mostly stolen from Ovid. She listens. She blinks. She says, "You're not terrible." Your heart skips. Gaius weeps softly in the corner. Over the next few days, your affection grows. You send her figs. She returns them. You write her a scroll. She sends back a drawing of a goat. It looks suspiciously like Marcus, but eventually she agrees to meet. You walk together along the Tiber. The river smells like old wine and ambition. She talks about her favorite philosophers. You nod as if you understand. She laughs. You trip on a fish cart. Romance. She shows you her family's mosaic collection. You pretend to care. She pretends not to notice. She gives you a ring made of twine. You give her a seashell you definitely did not find in the market 5 minutes earlier. One evening, you visit the amphitheater, not for gladiators, for a play, a love tragedy. You both pretend not to cry. Later, you sit by the fire. She asks you what you want. You say, to survive Rome. She says, fair. Love in Rome is not easy. It's hidden in side glances, in coded letters, in stolen moments behind temples and under balconies. It's poetic, chaotic, drenched in perfume and politics. Marriage? That's a separate matter, usually arranged, usually involving dowries and land and uncles who argue about goats. But romance? Romance is what happens when the city forgets to be a machine for 5 minutes and lets people be human. You walk her home. She touches your arm. Try not to get arrested tomorrow, she says. Your heart soars. You return to your room. Marcus is asleep in your bed. You don't move him. Love makes you generous. You lie down. You close your eyes. You smell the fig blossoms in her hair. You hear her laugh. You feel, for once, like the world is more than just war and dust. Sleep well, little lover. Tomorrow, you go to the temple for answers. Today, you seek the truth. After days of markets, marching, love poems, and losing sandals in legal battles, your mind is full, heavy, suspiciously philosophical. So you go where every confused Roman eventually goes, to the temple, not for sacrifice, not for worship, but for answers, specifically the oracle. You wake early, feeling strange. The city is quiet. Your tunic feels oddly clean. Marcus watches you without judgment. That alone is unsettling. You trek to the temple of Apollo, perched on a hill above the noise of the city. It's quiet here. Birds, wind, the faint smell of incense and dusty sandals. The marble steps are worn. The pillars stretch skywards. Inside, it's dark, a sacred kind of dark, mysterious. The kind of dark that whispers, whatever you hear in here, you're going to wish you hadn't. A priest greets you with a gaze that could curdle goat milk. He nods toward a room filled with smoke. You're led inside. A woman, the Pythia, the oracle herself, sits on a tripod, eyes closed, inhaling fumes that would put modern bathroom sprays to shame. You kneel, you whisper your question. What is the meaning of life? She opens one eye. She says, "Don't eat street clams." You nod. That's fair. Then she begins to speak in riddles, in poetry, in half Latin, half divine murmuring. You catch fragments. A man who chases the sun will burn his sandals. A goat cannot be trusted with figs. Beware the ides of washing your tunic. You nod again. You're not sure what any of this means, but it feels important. She falls silent. You bow, you back away. You are now the proud owner of an official Roman existential crisis. Outside, the sun is warm. You sit on a stone bench and think about Rome, about gods, about chaos, about garum. You reflect on everything you've learned, that street vendors are philosophers in disguise, that gladiators are rock stars with better swords, that court is theater with scrolls, that love smells like figs and poor decisions, that armies are made of sweat, sandals, and men who sing off key at 4 a.m., that goats are smarter than they look, and that life in Rome isn't about comfort, it's about motion. Everything here moves: people, ideas, armies, language. You either keep up or you get flattened by a runaway cart filled with grapes and questionable poultry. You stand, you walk slowly back toward the forum. You notice things now: a child reciting a poem to his mother, a man cleaning a statue like it's his best friend, a woman teaching a boy how to haggle over bread. Rome, for all its noise, is full of people just trying to survive, to build, to laugh, to not step in horse droppings while wearing white sandals. You pause at the temple steps one last time. You whisper a thank you, possibly to Apollo, possibly to the janitor sweeping nearby. You wander back down the hill. The sounds of the city rise again, clanging, shouting, singing, bargaining. Rome welcomes you back with a slap and a smile. You return to your room. Marcus has left a half-eaten scroll on your bed. You sigh, you smile, you lie down, and for the first time, you understand. You wouldn't last a day in Rome, but somehow you did. You close your eyes. The incense still clings to your tunic. The oracle's words echo. Don't eat street clams. You promise her you won't. Sleep now, little philosopher. Tomorrow, your final test, Roman plumbing. And now, the final trial. Not the battlefield, not the court, not even another poetry recital by a drunken senator. Number today, dear traveler, you face something far more dangerous, something that has confounded empires, humbled emperors, and broken the spirit of many brave Romans. Today, you use the bathroom. You wake up slowly. The light is soft. The city still slumbers for once. You stretch. Your bones creak like an old ship. You rise determined, because all week you've dodged this moment. You've survived on hope and well-timed prayers to Cloacina, goddess of the sewer. But now your body is no longer negotiating. You need relief. You set off across the cobbled streets, past bakeries and beggars, past temples and turtles. You find it, the Latrinae Publicae, a public toilet, Roman style. From the outside, it looks noble, arched, stone, respectable. You sigh with relief. Then you go inside. It is, to put it mildly, communal. A long bench with holes, no stalls, no doors, no privacy, just 20 Romans doing their business while making eye contact with each other and debating philosophy. You take a breath, you choose a spot, you sit. It's stone, it's cold, very, very cold. There is no toilet paper. Instead, there's a sponge. On a stick, in a bucket, you blink. The man beside you says, "Don't worry, it's been rinsed." You worry. You do what you must. You stare at the wall. You think of your ancestors. You whisper, "I'm sorry." You finish. You leave the sponge behind. You walk outside, 20% lighter, emotionally 70% heavier. You survived. Then you ask a passing boy, "Where does it all go?" He smiles. Into the Cloaca Maxima, of course. Ah, yes, the Great Sewer, one of Rome's greatest engineering feats, a network of tunnels beneath the city that carries all offerings to the Tiber River. You decide to see it. You head to the Forum and find the grated opening, discreetly located between two columns and a very confused cat. You lean over, you inhale. Mistake. The smell? Imagine every bad decision Rome has ever made, fermented, boiled, and served in vapor form. You reel back, you gag, you momentarily forget Latin. Still, you admire it. This is what makes Rome Rome, not just the marble and mosaics, but the fact that this city, despite all odds, functions. It feeds, it bleeds, and yes, it flushes. A group of workers walk past, carrying shovels and a rope. You ask where they're going. "Pipe inspection," they say. You salute them. You mean it. Back in the street, you feel changed. You understand something now. Rome is not just an empire, it's a system, a living, groaning, occasionally leaking organism. And you've lived inside it for a whole day. You've walked its cracked stones, eaten its suspicious bread, argued about goats, fought imaginary battles, fallen in love, suffered medical confusion, written poetry, dug trenches, burned your tongue on honeyed dormice, been slightly poisoned by garum, slept beside a goat, and now, here you are, a survivor. You return home, slowly. Marcus greets you at the door with his usual look of bored royalty. You sit beside him. You pat his head. He ignores you. You understand. You look around your small room, the straw bed, the cracked bowl, the scroll with half a poem and some spilled oil. And somehow you love it. Because Rome isn't about comfort, it's about immersion. It pulls you in, slaps you, hugs you, feeds you, confuses you, then asks you to applaud. So you lie down. You breathe in dust and incense. Your bones hum. Your brain buzzes. Your soul is weirdly content. Outside, the city glows. Fires flicker. Laughter rises. Dogs bark. A man recites bad poetry to a very patient statue. You smile. You wouldn't last a day in ancient Rome, they said, and yet you did. Sleep now, traveler. Sleep deep. The aqueducts will hum you a lullaby.